Hello everyone and welcome to the very first episode of The Run Home. I'm really excited to be bringing this new podcast to our Supercars fans. I'm Riana Crehan and I'm joined by Supercars.com digital news editor James Pavey and former Supercars champion and now turned pastry extraordinaire Mark Winterbottom. Hey gents.
G'day.
G'day.
This is cool. This is something we've been chatting about for a little while now and I'm really glad that we can start to bring some more content to our Supercars fans, particularly at the moment when we've just had the first ever final series. And I think I talk for most people that it was a massive, massive success. Paves, what did you think? You've been talking about this and writing about it for the last couple of years. What did you think of the weekend?
It was pretty crazy, Ree, looking back to October last year when we announced this format, what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden getting to the Gold Coast and everything just exploded. So many big names having massive tear-ups. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't expect the scale of the tear-ups of some of those guys. Of course, we'll get into it with Brodie and Brown. It was just unbelievable. But the quality of the racing, Frosty, I thought was so epic.
I think it's good. I've been in Supercars quite a while, and this is the best rule change I've seen Supercars do. I'm going to call it in the history of the time I've seen it, because what we saw on the weekend was urgency, and the days of just being Mr. Consistent, the accumulation guy is gone. You have to win races. And we saw that Friday, the desperation kicked in for some, and they were crashing, they were scrambling, and they put them on the back foot. And then come Saturday, more crashes, more drama, more incidents. And then Sunday, it kept going. So for me, if you're a person at home watching on television or watching live at track, Supercars have nailed this. I'm glad I'm not in the finals, but I can sit back and watch, and it's a spectacle. It's been really good.
Before we get stuck into the details of the finals, firstly, I want to talk about the track, Frosty, because there was a lot of chat all weekend about the curbs and how they were different. The resurfing, of course, at turn 4 and 11, cars were right from lap 1 in practice were breaking the lap records. I mean, from your point of view, what were you thinking about, just how quick those cars were going?
Well, I'll give you some perspective, because every year we go to the Gold Coast and we complain about the curb sensors being on. As drivers, we go to the driver's briefing and always any questions and the hands go up and we say, why have we got curb sensors? Because I think it looks average when you see cars getting bad sportsmanship flags on lap 10 of a race, times deleted, all that side. So Supercars listen. They've done the right thing by the drivers. They've listened. They had to keep some on, which I saw turn 8, the right-hander, at the back chicane on to stop you just four-wheeling the whole thing. But what it did was it makes the car, that footage of the cars going airborne, 4 wheels off the ground, that's going global. There's people all around the world talking about it. But we've been asking for that as drivers for many years. The pros is that we didn't see many curb sensor strikes. We didn't see pit lane drive-through penalties, which was seen over the years for over-abuse of the curbs. The only downside to it is that you used to save up your curb strikes and use it as a lucky dog prize thing to pass someone if you had a card up your sleeve type thing. Yeah. So pros and cons, but I think the curb sensors being off was so good for the sport, and the drivers, we've all asked for it, they listen. There was a few complaints about it, but it's what we've been asking for the last 20 years. We've been asking for the curb sensors off. So they listened. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and I think we're glad as well that we didn't get some of that weather that we were talking about. I mean, I know some people want the rain and spice it up. We didn't need to spice it up. It was spicy enough as it was over the weekend. As I chat to you guys now, it is pouring rain here on the Gold Coast. And I'm kind of glad we didn't get the weather that we're getting today, that on the weekend, because I felt like we didn't need rain to make it more exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think looking to the end of Sunday's race, and we'll get to it in a second, but when the safety car came out with that incident between Anton and James, and then Chaz having to defend for his absolute life against Brock, if it was raining, it probably wouldn't have been the case. You're probably getting guys tiptoeing around, or there probably would have been another accident, would have been another safety car, and we would have been denied that grandstand finish. So, sometimes we look at Bathurst and we'll say, oh, the rain made that race, but ultimately we got the grandstand finish we deserved, and there was drama to go with it.
So obviously the first big name that was out of the finals was, of course, Brodie Kostecki. Had that nasty accident in qualifying on Saturday. We detailed the rebuild. They had to take the car off site. You know, incredible work by DJR. The team worked till 5:30 in the morning. They literally left the track, had a shower, came back to the track. And then he was quick pretty much straight away, but ultimately it didn't go his way and he's missed out on a finals spot. Frosty, how do you see that all play out? I mean, you've won a championship, you understand the pressure, what it takes, right from the get-go. I mean, he was fast, but ultimately, you know, a few, I suppose, mistakes from all people within the team, and that led to him missing out.
Look, going into the weekend, I thought he was one of the favourites. I picked him to go through quite easily, to be honest. That was my thoughts going in. But this is where these tracks coming to the back end of the year, they're very tricky tracks. Gold Coast, Sandown, and then we go to Adelaide. It's high consequence, high risk, high reward type tracks. And I think when you see Brodie, he's always on the limit. He pushes hard, but he normally nails it. And that Friday accident does put you on the back foot because you miss your green tyre run. Instead of prepping the car to go fast, you're prepping it to fix a mistake which he made, obviously at turn 12 there. So he was on the back foot quite early, but I expected him to bounce back Saturday, and I don't know why he kept clipping that inside curve at turn 1. A lot of cars it was ripping his front splitter off where other cars were getting away with it. So I don't know. I started diving into the technical side. Is he running a narrower wheel track on the front? Is he doing... I was looking at all those things to try and work out why they're so fast sometimes, and 2, why he was ripping the splitter off. But then you see the desperation of the team. Like, you trust your team. When you go back out and they tell you the car's fine, you go out and push. And, you know, he would have done that, but that's desperation of the finals. Normally, you wouldn't send the car out. You'd lick your wounds, you'd qualify where you do. You'd salvage your result, then you turn up Sunday and go again. So desperation of finals was pressure on drivers and teams, and unfortunately, DJR, they got it wrong on Saturday, and it was a flow-on from Friday's mistake, I think, that caused the pressure.
Paves, I mean, you're in and around the lane, you're chatting to everyone. I think that, you know, a lot of people were obviously shocked about the accident initially, but then there was still chat like he'll be on pole tomorrow. Like, I've still felt like there was a serious chance that they could have been on pole and potentially won that race. I mean, he had to win basically to get to hold that spot in the finals position, but I felt like there was still, despite everything that had happened, there was still a lot of confidence within himself, the team, and being able to get the job done.
Yeah, well, Brodie's a series champion, so you ride him off at your own peril, but I got up early on Sunday morning. I was following the story as close as I could, and I got to the track pretty early, and I went to the garage, and George Commons and a few mechanics were around there, and I said to George, like, you know, how is Brodie feeling? Is he confident? And he's like, he's confident, but we've just got to see how we go, because when you take the front end of a car off and put a new engine in, the new rest of the car on, like, you've got to start from zero again. And Brodie's a confidence driver. He's so mechanically sound, but like Frosty said, if you're racing from behind and you're racing under pressure, you're going to make more mistakes. And when you get to Sunday and get a curb strike and you're out in qualifying again, I think it was just, the shocks just kept coming. And that was for a lot of finals drivers as well. But I think for the fans as well, it was a big shock, because we did a poll on the website and Brodie was ranked 3rd out of the 10 to win the championship. So clearly people were confident. That team would have been confident as well. And we know Brodie, he just puts his heart in his sleeve and goes hard. He's brash in the media, we love that, but behind the wheel he's so flamboyant. But yeah, the mistakes just kept piling up, unfortunately.
Frosty, do you think that he will be the joker in the pack? I mean, we know how fast he is. We know he now doesn't care what happens in the finals. It doesn't affect him. Do you think that he could be a bit of a spoiler?
I don't know. We saw Andre, didn't we? He was 3rd on Sunday and he wasn't moving out of the way. He made it very, very tough. So now you're out of the finals. I don't know if you've got a point to prove, but when you go to Sandown, when you go to Adelaide, he wants to win the last couple of races. So, and without the mistake, he was in the mix. You know, even on that Sunday when he got the curb strike, he was purple first sector. So very, very fast. Yeah, I picked him probably higher than 3, to be honest, Paves, in that if I'd have done a poll myself, I picked him higher. So, yeah, he'll be a threat, but gone is it's hard. You've got to control that intensity now. Like, what am I racing for? You know, all those things. And he'll have to go out now and just prove a point and try and bring it home with a couple of wins. But he's fast. He's a really, really good driver. Very calculated, which is why the mistakes were quite rare to see him make on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next big talking point, of course, was Anton De Pasquale dropping out of the finals. Like, it felt like all weekend he was in, and he was out, he was in, and then he was out, and he was kind of just, right on the fringe of that throughout the weekend. I suppose let's chat about the penalty. Of course, he tipped in James Courtney into the wall right in the death of the race, and that ultimately is what sort of set him out of the finals. Frosty, what do you think about that move and how it played out?
Well, I'm not going to be too critical, but Anton sort of is one of those drivers, when he's behind you, he's not very aggressive. And I think with that move that he made on James, he half showed the nose and half pulled out. So when you're making those moves, then you've got to be very aggressive and forceful. You've just got to dive down the inside. And, we saw Chaz do it, and those guys get their elbows out, and they're going in there regardless. Maybe we saw do as well. I think what Anton does is he's quite conservative, and he's probably suits the old points accumulation process that Supercars had, where quite conservative and not aggressive. And that was a half aggressive move with a guy who, James is on his last hurrah. He's not living over for anyone. So if you're going to make that move, you've got to be forceful. 100% deserved a penalty. You can't hit someone in the back and cost their race. In hindsight, we all look at hindsight in motorsport. For Anton, he needed to just lock the wheels up, go down the inside, and have side-to-side contact, not front to rear. So penalty was justified. But, again, desperation. He's trying to get in the finals, and he's done. He's out and had to have a crack, and probably not forceful enough.
The next one, of course, Ryan Wood. I mean, you've got a feel for Ryan Wood and Walkinshaw Andretti United. They had that issue at Bathurst, which, ultimately, set him out of the race, and then another mechanical issue on the weekend with that fuel leak issue. I mean, Paves, your heart breaks for him. I mean, he's been fast, he's been coming on strong at the back end of the year, and your heart does break for him and that team.
Oh, big time. I mean, anyone who can get pole around the Gold Coast is a good driver, and Ryan earned that right on Saturday and was leading the race, and you're thinking, well, this is when the win and you're in rule comes into effect big time, because essentially he was in the drop zone and he was going to win himself into Sandown. All of a sudden he started slowing, and you're thinking, oh, not again. I mean, it took us right back to Bathurst when they were leading that race, and just fell apart, and it fell apart again. And it would be remiss of us not to comment about the pressure on the teams as well. I mean, how Walkinshaw Andretti United really approached that day. Obviously Chaz was lightning fast, but so was Ryan. So if he wins and then Chaz wins on Sunday like he did, they've got both drivers in there as well. So it's hard for Ryan, but those moments maketh man. I mean, he's only 21 years old, 22, so he's got so many opportunities to win Bathursts and championships, and arguably these moments will make him stronger. But it was just heartbreaking to see what happened on Saturday again, and it just meant that Sunday they were racing from behind just like Brodie was, and they just couldn't get it together. Yeah.
I suppose now what it does, though, is Chaz Mostert is the only driver. He's the only Walkinshaw Andretti United driver in. All the other finalists, there's two drivers from each team. So, Frosty, I mean, do you see that as an advantage? Is it a disadvantage? I mean, how do you think?
It helps massively, and just follow on Ryan Wood. He's a very impressive young guy. Coming to the Bakery the Sunday after Bathurst with Matty Payne, and he's resilient. He knows he's very good. You can tell these young guys, they believe in themselves. And going to Gold Coast, he was determined to do something special. And it wasn't him who let it down. He was very, very good. So having him in your corner for Chaz is huge. I would love to have him in my corner, because what happens is these other guys, there's 4 teams. So Triple A, Feeney and Brown, they've got their own agenda. Randall Waters' own agenda. Hi, Alan, Matt Payne, they're trying to get in too. So there's 4 spots. So if you're Chaz Mostert, safety car, you get priority. If there's a tow at Sandown, you'll get the tow. If there's a pit strategy where Ryan Wood can go out and hold up some contenders, he's going to take it. So, look, it doesn't guarantee Chaz in, but these are the team tactics, which if I was owning the team, I'd be playing for sure.
Yep.
It gives him the upper hand. And Chaz at Sandown is very fast. So if you're looking at who's going to be the 4 guys going to Adelaide, I'd be very, very comfortable if I was Chaz that I've got the fastest guy in the pits at the moment on my side and not a threat, and that's a big plus.
So if we're speaking about guys that are coming on strong towards the back end of the year, I mean, of course, Chaz Mostert on the weekend, he was almost untouchable. His race pace was unbelievable. They were quick in pit lane. You know, obviously Ryan, we just spoke about being fast in qualifying as well. So if we say Chaz is in form, Brock Feeney, you know, I don't think he's been out of form all year. I mean, 15 pole positions. He's gunning for the pole position record this year as well. Who's in form, who's not in form as we come into the final couple of rounds, do you believe, Frosty?
I think Sandown, Triple Eight, always very fast. Like, notoriously, Brock Feeney still impresses every time he goes out. Very impressive. Chaz on the weekend was... The thing that I thought Chaz did really well was that he was good on the super soft and he was good on the soft tyre. Both days, he was very fast. But on Saturday, I don't think he wins that race if Ryan Wood doesn't have the problem, because I tell you, that safety car come out at a bad time for Chaz. If Ryan was still on track, he would have queued completely different storyline. So, yes, he's in form, but going to Sandown, I'd be looking at Brock Feeney as the guy still that you've got to beat. Matt Payne, he's always there. He was unlucky on the weekend, but he's still just... The car is at the front. You're watching on TV, you're watching on track. There's that Penrite car that's just a nuisance. He's always there, even when he's having a bad day. So, look, top 7 is very, very tough. And I don't know who's in the box seat. I still have to pick Feeney as one to go through. Probably Chaz, given the weekend, and his ally. And the other two, hearts on the sleeve, after, say, Ken Waters and then Matty Payne. Who knows? It's going to be very, very tough to get in.
Paves, if you look at the guys that are in form, I mean, then you've got to look at the guys that are potentially, or I don't want to say out of form, because I don't think that's correct. I think obviously if you're a finalist, you're in form. But if we just talk about Will Brown for a second, you know, his race pace has been, no question, all year long, he's always fast. But of course, and he admits it, his qualifying, he's out of form, if that's what you want to say at the moment. I think he's qualified 11th or worse the last 12 times this season. And Frosty, as you know, when you're qualifying in the back, like, you just massive risk. You've got so much more work to do. So, Paves, I mean, how do you sort of see where he's sitting at the moment? You certainly can't rule him out, but you've really got to improve that, you know, those starting positions.
He's just got to qualify better. It's proof in the pudding. He keeps having to race from behind, and we know that Andrew Edwards is a great race car engineer, and Will as well is a great race car driver. But so many times over the weekend, he was having to really pull a rabbit out of a hat, and you can't really afford to do that when the finals field gets smaller. And you know, Will won the Sandown 500 last year. He won Adelaide last year, so he's fast at the tracks we've got. But the inability to start towards the front, you're putting pressure on yourself, because all of a sudden it's out of your hands. Because the guys you're racing, if they're qualifying better than you, there's not much you can do about it. You're watching them race into the distance, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, what do we do? Do we have to think about strategy to get ahead of them? Do we really just have to rely on luck? And when it comes to the finals, there is an element of luck for sure, but if you're not qualifying well enough, you know, we could see Will Brown knocked out, which would be a massive shock because he's the reigning champ.
Frosty, I'm sure parts of your career, you've had times when you've been in form and everything falls into place and the safety cars come at the right time and things just work, but then there's times when things don't work. And I don't know if being out of form is the right word, you can correct me, but when things just can't seem to go your way. I mean, talk to us about that and how you've dealt with it over time.
Well, I think one of Will's biggest issues is Feeney, because he doesn't make mistakes. Every time he goes in qualifying, he's nailing every lap, and he's in that little window. So it puts pressure on the other side of the garage, because even if you qualify second to Brock, you feel like you failed, so it puts you under pressure. But what we saw Saturday, Brown's got the ability to do it. That first sector, he was up. But then it's the flow on, because he knows that there's not that safety margin that he used to have. You know, you go through the back chicane, and if he doesn't nail it, Brock's going to jump him, get priority, all those sort of factors that flow on. So it puts you under pressure, puts setups under pressure, and the whole flow-on effect. So, look, he's very fast. Like, Will's very fast. He proves he's very fast. It would be so much easier for him if he qualifies at the front. He's had a very tough year coming through. He's survived every time, which has been really strong for him. But he's just got to beat Brock. That's effectively it. I don't know how he does it. And that's where he's got to dig deep, and the champion will come out. He's got 2 rounds to show it. But his biggest problem at the moment is honestly his rock, and his perfection has been on show. 15 pole positions, it's been on show.
Yeah. Well, he's been on pole the last couple of years at Sandown, and he's been a Sandown 500 winner, so we'll see in a couple of weeks' time. But we spoke before about consistency. Matt Payne, Kai Allen, Penrite Racing. I mean, they have been so consistent in getting results when maybe the speed of the car hasn't quite been there. We've seen time and time again their strategy calls are what has got them onto the podium and what has got them to a victory. We saw it at Queensland Raceway with Kai Allen. We saw it on the Gold Coast. We saw it at Tasmania. We saw it last year, Townsville, Sydney Motorsport Park. I mean, their strategy calls have really got them, both of those cars, into the finals.
Yeah, big time. I mean, looking at Saturday, Penrite Racing got Kai Allen onto the podium. He's in the finals, and it gave them a bit of a safety margin to play with on the Sunday as well. But we talk about being conservative as well. It was good to see Matt Payne being as aggressive as he was after copping a curb strike in the Sunday shootout. I mean, that move on Cam Waters on the Sunday into turn 11, Frosty, a bit of a flashback for you with Scotty all those years ago. But it's nice to see guys like Kai taking risks on Thomas Randall, for example, and then Matt taking risks on Cam, and they're not out there to make up the numbers. They have to get the numbers, and you've got to get points, because if you're not bringing home surfboards at the Gold Coast, you've got to be in the pointy end, and they were both there and they deserve to be there. But Penrite Racing's strategy, like you said, has just been the winner for them all year. I mean, that win at Tassie for Payne was built off the back of a massive strategy call, and that's why they're regarded as favourites, because they have the driver and the team to back it up.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes them so strong. I mean, both those guys are very, very fast. Matt Payne has been very, very quick throughout the year. But when you're not quick and you know that you've got the confidence in the team to maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat, I mean, that must be a really nice feeling, Frosty.
Well, what they've done really well is people see the strategy side, right? So they look at Kai Allen on Saturday, and that was a big move. But where they're very clever and what they're doing really well is, we saw, I think it was Reynolds tried to do that strategy as well. But what they're doing on lap one, they know exactly what fuel number to hit. So they're on the radio and they're proactive. They're saying, hey, give us plus 10, give us plus 15. And they're ahead of the game. Where you look at Reynolds, I could hear his radio chat. Oh, quick, we need plus 30. We need plus, it's too late. You're done. Yeah. So the strategy calls, they know very, very early. And this is where they're very clever. Exactly what they're going to finish with, what fumes in the fuel tank they're going to finish with to get across that line. Because you can't with 2 laps to go say, hey, save us 5 laps of fuel. It doesn't happen like that. So that's where they're very clever. They know what number to run to save their tyres, tyre deg, fuel number usage. And when they make the call, they must do a serious amount of prep work in the garage, because back at the workshop, because they're ahead of the game. And I want to know who's making them. Is it Shippy? Is it Couchy? Is it Bell? Who is it? Because they are putting a lot of effort in and they're ahead of the game. And that's why it's working. It's not just luck when you do it multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to look at their data stands. You've got Jack Bell, who's now a podium and race-winning engineer. You've got Alistair McVeigh, who we know how talented he is. Grant McPherson, David Couchy. Stephen and Brenton Grove, they both know how to win races as well. So, I mean, the powerhouse of people and brain power that they have in that team, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, they're going to be quite disruptive through the next 2 rounds, because you've got to think about, let's say Kai Allen doesn't make the Final 4 in Adelaide, but Payne does. Kai's now got the pace to be a massive pest to everyone else, because you can run him out long, he can put the elbows out. And this is why we've been talking about team tactics all along, because you can genuinely do that if you've got fast drivers. That's why the Ryan Wood situation is really interesting, because he's fast too. So I'm just so giddy and excited and also quite fascinated by how it's going to play out, because we just don't know. And I know that teams won't be doing anything silly, and obviously Craig Baird has told me recently that there will be consequences if you do things pretty silly. But I think Penrite Racing, they just seem to have a bit of a leg up when it comes to the smarts, because they can think ahead, they can apply that, and they can use it to their advantage.
Let's talk about some of the aggressive moves we saw on the weekend. We've just briefly mentioned Matt Payne, Brock Feeney on Chaz Mostert. I mean, turn 11, Frosty, big risk, lots of risk, but, it was awesome to see.
That was really cool. And you got to also look at that double chicane. They're doing about 15 kilometres an hour faster. So what that means is longer braking zone into 11 because they're approaching at faster speed. When you go through that kink, as a driver, you go through whatever they call turn 10, the right-hand kink, and then you go into 11. You've got to commit on the exit of the chicane before that kink happens because in your mind you go, I'm going in. Please don't move under brakes. Don't move. Why are you coming across? I'm committed. I'm locked up. And that was cool. Like that Matt Payne move, I can tell you, when you look on the mirror, you catch this glance of a guy on the inside and there's smoke pouring off the tyres. Your head says to turn in, but then your body sort of automatically turns out. And I saw Cam, I felt for him because that felt like McLaughlin diving down the inside of me to what Matty did. That was a really cool move. The Feeney one was cool. I thought that was really cool. And he's young, but he's very clever. Like I give Brock a lot of credit. He's very clever, and he could have just pushed him out of the way and probably had every right to be honest, the way Chaz was moving across. But he's thinking big game picture. He showed his nose a bit. Yep, I'm going to be aggressive, but I'm calculated. But come Adelaide, he's not doing that. If he's going in there at Adelaide to win the championship, he's not pulling out. So he's shown his cards quite early, where his head's at. But yeah, the racing. And then when you see it go wrong, we spoke about Anton before, it's that slight bit of do you clip the rear or do you get up the inside is whether the move's a great move or a drive-through penalty. So, but that Matt Payne one, that was cool. Unfortunately, it was on Cam, who I'm emotionally invested with, but that was a really cool move.
Do you feel that the finals changed how drivers approached racing on the weekend, potentially putting a move on that maybe they wouldn't have put a move on previously if we weren't in this final situation? Do you think that changed?
100%. And the reason is that, previously it was, and the point system's changed a bit too over the years and stuff, but often one position would be 2 points. So you go, well, why am I going to make a high risk move for a 2-point gain? But now the points are so crucial and you're either in or you're out. So if you're 8th, you're doing the craziest moves like your life depends on it, because you're trying to get in, you're scrambling, and it showed that on the weekend. The flip side is you look at the guys that I said before, Andre, his elbows were like, I don't care. If I get turned around, I want a surfboard, it's win or bust. So he's got another mentality that comes into it too. So it's the best thing Supercars have done. It's created drivers have to drive aggressive. There's no more settle for a position because, 6th or 7th or 8th or it's 2 points, whatever it is. Every point matters, and the racing show for it. I loved it. I can't wait for Sandown because if that was a taste of the top 10 trying to go to 7, what's 7 to 4 going to be like? It's going to be epic, and they got it right. The racing is off the chart purely because of a structure change.
So if we look ahead to the Sandown 500 in a couple of weekends' time, Paves, we've got our top 7. We're going to narrow that down to 4. We know traditionally Sandown is probably more favoured towards a Red Bull Ampel racing style track. What are you hearing and what are you thinking is going to play out over that weekend?
Well, it's the proof's in the pudding again with the stats. I mean, 888, they've been really good there over the last few years, but I'm really interested to see how teams grapple the 2 different tyre compounds across the 2 different days, because Walkinshaw and Drury United just seem to have made massive gains on the super soft, especially because they were pretty rubbish on it last year. So there's no reason why Chaz can't just go there and fire it up and get some more wins. But I think Cam Waters, having played conservative at the Gold Coast, I'm really interested to see how he's going to attack the weekend, because we've already seen how Matt Payne wants to race and Brock Feeney, they're going to be aggressive. So for Cam, I think if he can get a win there, it's going to be hard for him to be beaten in Adelaide because he's really good there as well. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Again, I don't think anyone expected Kyle Allen to be as strong as he was on the Gold Coast. So look out for Sandown as well. There could be a rookie in the top 4.
Frosty, what are the, I suppose, hot spots at Sandown where you think, this is where we can make some serious moves, or what sort of stands out to you?
Sandown's tyre dig and weather. They're the 2 things. Obviously, you've got to be fast. But we've seen guys win from 20th at Sandown through tyre degradation, and that was obviously Van Gisbergen when he had his collarbone. But it's a tough place, very tough place, and weather is huge. Like in the morning, it can be sunny, which it is in Melbourne at the moment, and afternoon it can be hailing, and completely different narrative. So I don't know. That was a very media answer, Paves, about who's going to win it, who's strong. You gave all 7. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Sandown? Who's the pick? Who do you think goes through? Who's not? For me, I'll give you my 4. I think Chaz goes through, Brock Feeney goes through, Cam Waters goes through, and Matty Payne goes through. That's who I think will go through.
I tend to agree with you there, Frosty. I think you certainly can't look past Brock Feeney. I mean, he's just been exceptional. Chaz, after the weekend, I think he'll be very good. I think that Cam, you just can't ever rule out Cam Waters, despite where we are and where we're going. And I just feel like Matt Payne at the moment is just so strong, race pace, and as we've discussed with the team, I reckon those 4 are probably the ones that are going to, rise to the top. But as you said, weather plays a huge factor. We know the pit lane at Sandown is so tight, so double stacking, can really break that race. And I think qualifying is just going to be so critical for those guys that have got, 2 drivers in there, because that, if you out-qualify your teammate, you've already, put yourself in a huge step in front of your teammate.
Yeah, an extension of that, Rhea, as well, is like qualifying is the story, and that's the story for Will Brown. So if he can somehow snag a good shootout result on the Saturday and somehow qualify ahead of Brock, because Brock leads the head-to-head 27-2, which is just ridiculous. If Brown can somehow pull out a lap and give himself an opportunity, he's only 12 points behind Cam as well, and who knows, if Will can snag a win on the Saturday, he's already into Adelaide. So that for me is the story. It's so much about who's already in the top 4, but like who can force their way in. And you've got 3 really good drivers in Will, Kai and Thomas, who are all quick in their own different ways. But to the point we've been talking about before, if you've got teammates in there, how do you structure that? Who gets pit priority? I think that's where Chaz really comes into play. But I will really be looking closely about how Will qualifies, because if he qualifies outside the top 10 again in Saturday, then he's already behind the 8 ball again.
And that's what I like about the win and you're in. I mean, we spoke about it so much over the weekend, but like, as we saw, you win and just your whole weekend changes. You can not take your foot off the gas, but there's just such a different dynamic leading into Sunday, knowing that you're secured.
100%. I guess the other thing too is I thought it was pro for Chaz, but then not having another car there. But maybe Will Brown, Feeney wins Saturday, and they're running 1-2. Feeney moves over Sunday and lets Brown through. They're this team tactics that are going to come into it. They're not unsportsmanlike. That's what you would be doing as a team. So it's very clever. I'm looking forward to the team aspect of it all. And this is where motorsport, you see the drivers get up on the podium and get the champagne and all that side, but the team aspect and this strategy and battle in the background of what's going to play out it's actually really cool. And I don't think normal finals or normal championship doesn't bring out this team aspect of how they played out. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should wrap things up here. Gents, thank you so much. This has been really fun, just digesting everything that we saw over the Gold Coast and looking forward to Sandown, the Penrite Oil Sandown 500, 14th to the 16th of November. Head to Supercars website or, of course, Ticketek for your tickets. I hope to see you all there. Gents, you'll both be there. Very much looking forward to seeing you. Thanks so much. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.